The Stanley Cup Playoffs are here! Finally. The lead up is over. The regular season is over. You know how during the regular season you can overreact or underreact to a game and everyone's got an opinion on it? It's impossible to overreact to a playoff game. One sec, it's my therapist. Oh, that's not true? Okay, well, I've already said it, so. The games are exciting is what I'm saying. Get excited! This year, we are not going to be using the NHL's own bracket on their website. We're going to be using something a little different. I made my own bracket. A bunch of people at SDPN made their own bracket, and you can find it in the description down below on the Spark app. SPARC. I put a lot of thought into this, and ultimately, I know I'm right. Now it's time to find out exactly how bad I am at being right. Here are my picks. Here is my bracket for the 2025 Stanley Cup Playoffs. Let's start in the West. Our first series, the Winnipeg Jets, the President's Trophy winners, taking on the St. Louis Blues. In terms of where these guys finished during the regular season, they're miles apart. The Winnipeg Jets won the President's Trophy with 116 points. The St. Louis Blues finished 13th in the league with 96 points. They are literally 20 points apart. That is 10 wins. Or 20 overtime losses apart. The point system is weird. The Jets had more goals, 277 to 254. The Jets allowed fewer goals, 191 to 233. The Jets' goal differential was a league best plus 86. The Blues, good at plus 21, but the Jets are literally better than quadruple that. Numerically, statistically, however you want to categorize it, the Winnipeg Jets are the clear-cut favorites. I look at the teams on paper, though, I think it's closer. I think the Jets have better top-end talent. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, obviously Connor Hellebuck being the best goalie in the league this season. But can anyone recall what happened the last time Connor Hellebuck and Jordan Binnington were in a winner-take-all game? Has that happened in recent memory? Can anyone tell me? Now Hellebuck is playing for a Canadian team. Binnington is playing for an American team. It is very odd. I think the St. Louis Blues have a sustainable depth attack. I mean, a depth everything. I like what they got on the back end. Colton Parayko. There's still a little bit of Stanley Cup DNA. Not a lot, mind you, but still a little bit. Losing Dylan Holloway, though, severely hurts them. He's been a revelation for them this season, especially under Jim Montgomery. Then there's the Winnipeg Jets. If they're missing Nikolai Ehlers, that's going to be pretty important for them as well. You have two goalies with completely different reputations. Generally speaking, in the playoffs, Jordan Binnington's performance goes up. Connor Hellebuck's goes down. I think it's a hard-fought series, but ultimately, I am going to give it to the Winnipeg Jets in 6. Up next, producer Drew's favorite first-round series, the Dallas Stars taking on the Colorado Avalanche. This is one of the hardest to predict, and dude, Dallas has terrible luck. Last year, Dallas drew the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round, and this year they draw Colorado. Dallas is a little bit like the Winnipeg Jets in that they have basically been near the top all season. Colorado is a little bit like the St. Louis Blues in that they went through significant changes. With the Blues, it was the head coach. Colorado, it was half the roster. The Blues, because of these changes, I think are better than their record shows. The same applies for Colorado. Dallas is very difficult to evaluate because who's coming back from injury and how good are they going to be? Hopefully they're getting back Miro Heiskanen. It sounds like they're getting back Tyler Seguin. And we haven't received an update at the time I'm shooting this video, but Dallas could be without Jason Robertson after a final game of the season injury. There's a lot of question marks there. The Dallas Stars question marks make them worse. The Colorado Avalanche's question marks make them better. Here's what I mean. Jason Robertson, is he going to be ready to go? Is he even going to be in the lineup? And what percent of them are you getting? Same goes with Miro Heiskanen, same goes with Tyler Seguin. Whereas Colorado's getting back Gabriel Landeskog. Gabriel Landeskog isn't a guy the Avalanche just lost over the past week and is a significant part of what they've done this season. He literally has not played for them this season. He hasn't played for them in any season since they won the Cup. If he works out, great. He makes them better. If he doesn't work out, it is possible to bump down his minutes, even take him out of the lineup. No one is cheering for that story, though. Everyone wants him to make the comeback of comebacks. Except for Dallas Stars fans, maybe. Oh yeah, and also Mikko Rantanen's in this series, which is, wow. Over the past few seasons, out of the three of Rantanen, McKinnon, and Makar, McKinnon actually has the fewest points per game in the playoffs. Rantanen is above him. Makar is an alien. And yet, even though Rantanen has done much better in Dallas than he did in Carolina, it appears he misses Nate. Dallas has been a cup favorite of mine all year, but the unpredictability of what's going on, the right side on defense, I mean, that weird loss against the Canucks. I'm not going to base my picks off of one regular season game that ultimately didn't matter, but wow. I think I got to give this to Colorado in 6. Vegas versus Minnesota. Interesting. Here's the thing about Vegas. Vegas is Vegas. They undergo a lot of personnel changes, but every year, even though there's different nameplates, they stay the same. Up front, they are exciting and deep and have some star power. The back end is big and exhausting. The Minnesota Wild are injured. They have guys coming back, guys who have looked very good since coming back. And before the Wild got injured, they lost guys like Joel Eriksson-Ek and Jonas Brodin, and most notably Kirill Kaprizov. They were one of the best teams in the league. But because they've been without some of those guys for so long, particularly Kaprizov, I have a difficult time looking at this team that kind of limped into the playoffs a little bit and immediately going like, oh yeah, this is the team I saw like before Christmas. Whereas the Golden Knights have been the Golden Knights for basically their whole existence. It's because of my confidence in what the Vegas Golden Knights are and what the Vegas Golden Knights do and the unpredictability of the Minnesota Wild. I think this is the shortest series of the first round. I'm tempted to say Vegas takes the Minnesota Wild by the legs like Hulk takes Loki and just smashes them around. I'm going to give the Wild 1. I think Vegas takes this in 5. I'm not overly confident about that because Minnesota could be the early season Minnesota Wild, but I'm not buying it. And the last series in the West, don't you hate sequels? The LA Kings take on the Edmonton Oilers. This series is quickly becoming the Fast and Furious franchise. Aw, this movie's cool. Aw, this sequel is also cool. Wow, a trilogy? That's a lot. 4? No. I barely have the attention span for one movie these days. Anyway, this isn't about hockey anymore, is it? The LA Kings and Edmonton Oilers are playing against each other in the Stanley Cup Playoffs in the first round for the 4th consecutive year. And every year, there is some reason to believe in the LA Kings, and every year they let you down in a more pronounced way than the year before. Either that or the Oilers are just getting better, or both. That's what makes this year so fascinating, because the Oilers have limped through the past month, largely due to injury, but some guys are just straight up underperforming. McDavid has had a bit of a down year by his standards anyway. He's still got over 100 points. Draisaitl's been injured. Stuart Skinner's been injured. Losing Matthias Ekholm is brutal. It doesn't sound like he's going to play in this series at all. The LA Kings have just put together a really, really strong season. And instead of overpaying for Joonas Korpisalo at the trade deadline to solve their goaltending problems, they have a guy who has performed great all season long and won a Stanley Cup in Darcy Kuemper. Darcy Kuemper, who, remember, was part of a Colorado Avalanche team who beat McDavid, Draisaitl, and the Oilers in a playoff series in 2022. Granted, he only played one game in that series. Played the whole Cup final, though. Now, I was leaning heavy into the Kings until McDavid talked about the Oilers being perceived as the walking wounded, and I thought, uh-oh, he's upset. When Connor McDavid is upset, it's terrible for everyone not in an Edmonton Oilers uniform. I'm just struggling with this one because it's not just injuries that have hampered the Oilers. Outside of a few streaks this season, they haven't looked like they did last year. Last year, after a horrendous start to the season where it looked like they might just blow up the whole franchise, they were the best team in hockey. Like, they chose a point and went, what if we just never lose again? And then they took that strategy into the playoffs where they nearly never lost again. And in the Stanley Cup final, nearly did something that hadn't been done since 1942. Listen, the Kings have lost 3 straight series to these guys. It'd be like if last year I was like, oh yeah, the Leafs are going to smoke the Bruins. How would you have looked at me if I said that? And then how hard would you have laughed when the Bruins beat them again? Stupid, right? Stupid. Anyway, I learned nothing. I took the Kings in 6. Now let's go to the East. This series is impossible to predict, and that's why I have it going 7. The Carolina Hurricanes taking on the New Jersey Devils. So the Carolina Hurricanes lost Martin Necas when they traded him for Mikko Rantanen, and then Rantanen was bad. And then they traded Mikko Rantanen for Mark Jankowski and Logan Stankoven, and that's not enough. And then both guys were great, and then both guys tapered off. But the Hurricanes have still played very well since that Rantanen saga. Then you had the Devils, who are getting Dougie Hamilton back, and they've been missing him. But at the end of the day, they don't have Jack Hughes. They still have Jesper Bratt. They have a huge and bruising and, in my mind, underrated D-core. And then there's the Carolina Hurricanes, who simply are defense. They live it, they breathe it, they exude it. Both teams in this series want the puck. Two tormented coaches who have different reputations of not being able to get over the hump. Sheldon Keefe, who, I don't know if you ever heard of this guy, he was with the Leafs. Did beat Tampa that one time, but then, lost it to Florida in 5. Rod Brind'Amour, who keeps winning series and then getting to a certain point and very aggressively does not win a series. Like, makes it to the conference final against Florida, gets swept, and then talks about he didn't feel like they were swept after they were very much swept. I am leaving the door open for the New Jersey Devils' newfound D-core to really put it together, really take the hammer to the Hurricanes and come away with this series. But at the end of the day, I think the Hurricanes are a deeper, better oiled machine than the Devils. I have the Hurricanes winning this in a hard-fought series in 7. The Washington Capitals and the Montreal Canadiens. Fascinating series. The Habs just squeak into the playoffs. They are not playing their best hockey by any stretch of the imagination. They did just get Ivan Demidov, which is very fun, but they still had to just squeak in. They've been a different team since getting Carrier on the back end. Lane Hudson appears to only be getting better and better. The Washington Capitals are the Washington Capitals. They have been strong from the moment the season began until now. But a bit of a speed wobble at the end of the season. I would not blame the Washington Capitals for being somewhat emotionally exhausted right now. You have the lead up to Ovechkin breaking the record. You have Ovechkin tying the record. You have Ovechkin finally breaking the record. Everything that surrounds all of that can be so exhausting. And in the process, they kind of got pumped a few times. The game Ovechkin broke the record, that was the only goal they scored. They lost 4-1. They lost 2 games to the Blue Jackets, including one that was 7-0. Logan Thompson has been out. All I'm saying is, if you purely look at the seasons that both teams had, you would think the Capitals win this in a walk. Oh, I think it's going to be way closer than you think. You add in the adrenaline of the Bell Center, this young and exciting team in Montreal that still has a little bit of a surprising amount of DNA from the team that went to the Cup final in 2021. Caulfield, Suzuki, both those guys were there. Yeah, I know the Capitals literally won the Stanley Cup, but that was 2018, and they've done very little since. I mean, the Canadiens have done even less, but they weren't exactly expected to. I think this series is closer than people think. That being said, Tom Wilson in the playoffs, the Canadian media, that's going to be a lot of fun. Jacob Chychrun's had an unbelievable season. I wonder if Rasmus Sandin hits another gear. Pierre-Luc Dubois having to play against the Montreal Canadiens in a playoff series is very funny, given we all thought he was going to end up there. Ultimately, I think there's a more diverse skill set on the Washington Capitals. I think they win this in 6, but the Habs are going to give them everything they got. Next, the Battle of Florida. You know what? I don't care. It's good. The Leafs won the Atlantic Division. What did you want? Lightning versus Sens, Leafs versus Panthers? Boo. No, now you go into Battle of Florida, Battle of Ontario. Yes, absolutely. This series is going to be anarchy. This series is going to be a bloodbath, and a big reason for that is I think Tampa is pretty heavily favored. Yes, the Florida Panthers are the reigning Stanley Cup champions, but it's been quite a while since they've played like it. The Panthers have been on a consistent downturn for a while now, and how could they not? They've had an unbelievable amount of injuries. Matthew Tkachuk hasn't been seen for ages. And they just straight up haven't been winning that many games. The Tampa Bay Lightning, meanwhile, have been bloody fantastic. Brandon Hagel, who the team was essentially gifted by the Chicago Blackhawks, had over 90 points. Kucherov is Kucherov. And to me, so much of the series depends on him. If the Panthers want to throw him off, there are 2 kinds of Nikita Kucherov anger. There's, I'm gonna destroy you now, which that might show up. And there's, take my ball and go home, Nikita Kucherov, which has shown up an alarming amount of times over his career, including in the playoffs. As tempting as it is to be like, oh man, Marchand and Bennett and Tkachuk, no one knows what percentage of any of those players we're getting. Marchand has been playing recently, but he showed up in Florida injured. Bennett has missed time. Tkachuk has missed so much time. And with Matthew Tkachuk, he will play even if he's at 5%. He's that kind of a gamer. He's that kind of a warrior. But is 5% of Matthew Tkachuk going to help you win? Until the real Florida Panthers stand up, I have to give this to Tampa, and I'm going to give it to them in 6. I could easily see all those players coming back and being at 100% and just cruising through the Eastern Conference. But until they prove that that's the case, it's hard to just throw Tampa away when they've been so good. Now, the Battle of Ontario. For the first time since 2004, the Toronto Maple Leafs taking on the Ottawa Senators. Now, I'm going to have a larger breakdown of this on my own channel, and we're going to do another one on SDPN. We're going to do so much talking about this series. Also, I'm going to be streaming it. Every year we do this. That's not true. It's not every year the Leafs are the favored team in a series, and they are favored here. Oh, yeah, okay, but they won the division that the Sens are in. Any other team would be favored. Put it this way, if you can find it in yourself to have the Kings beating the Oilers this year, you can find a way to believe that the Leafs are going to beat the Sens. Oh, this feels just like 2021. 2021, when the Leafs won the Canadian division, you looked at the series and you go, there's no reason to believe that the Leafs are going to lose this series other than they're the Leafs. If they were any other team, if you were like, oh, that's the Hurricanes, I don't know. Yeah, they were better in the regular season, and they got this, and they got that, and they got that. Yeah, they should win. But they're the Leafs. And then the Leafs leafed that series maybe harder than they've ever leafed any series ever. Now, at the time I'm shooting this, the Leafs still have another game left, but right now there's no significant injuries. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is out. I don't think it'll be long term. I don't know if he misses game 1. Jake McCabe, I doubt, misses game 1. That would obviously be very important if he did. With the Sens, there's Brady Tkachuk, and I wouldn't expect him to miss any playoff game. Listen, the Leafs had the far better regular season than Ottawa, but that didn't stop Ottawa from running the Leafs show in the regular season. Granted, some of these games were earlier in the regular season, and the team you are in October, November, December is not the team you are at the beginning of the playoffs, but you got to win those games, and the Sens did. Both teams have top-end talent. I think the Leafs is better. Dude, Nylander was second in the league in goals. Marner finished with over 100 points. Matthews, despite having a down season, is still scoring at a 95, 96 point pace. Tavares has been a revelation. Again, they added Brandon Carlo to the back end and Chris Tanev in the offseason. They've really tied the room together. Anthony Stolarz has the highest save percentage in the league. Well, of course, you wouldn't write off the Sens for those reasons. They got the high-end talent too. Tim Stützle, Brady Tkachuk, Claude Giroux's been a Leaf killer his whole career. Ottawa's D-core is no joke at all. Thomas Chabot, Jake Sanderson. I'm tempted to not even look at the Sens third pair because I think Chabot and Sanderson are going to play 25 minutes each. A huge factor in the series is Linus Ullmark. Hasn't been all that great the last 2 playoffs, but he's been great for the Sens this year. I think it's hard fought. It's going to be mean. It's going to be nasty. I'm going against a lot of Leafy instincts here. I'm going to choose to believe that things have changed. Please let things change. Just put Leafs in 6. Second round. Why not start with the Leafs? If the bracket works out the way that I have it, the Leafs will be playing a second round series against the Tampa Bay Lightning. The rubber match. The Lightning got the best of the Leafs in 2022. The Leafs got the best of the Lightning in 2023. And ever since the Leafs got the best of the Lightning in 2023, they've owned them. It's weird. Whether it's a close game or a blowout, the Leafs and Matthew Knies in particular have dominated these guys. It's the weirdest thing. Tampa is an incredible team, but because of the Leafs' propensity to beat them in not just the regular season, but also the playoffs, I'm giving this to the Leafs. Oh yeah, buddy. They finally win a second round series. What does that mean for... Oh, just you wait. The way I had the first round working out, that means we got the Capitals taking on the Hurricanes. I think the Hurricanes are really deep, but losing high-end talent Rantanen doesn't really count. They lost Nietzsche's, right? I think the Capitals just have stronger parts than the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes never make anything easy on anyone, but the Capitals overcome them. In the West, Golden Knights versus Kings. This is so unfortunate. You're the Kings. You, in the first round, have to play a team that beat you 3 straight years, and then your reward is you get to play the Vegas Golden Knights. I have a hard time giving that one to the Kings, as good as they are. I have Vegas. Round 2, rematch of last year, the Winnipeg Jets taking on the Colorado Avalanche. For me, that's a nightmare for Winnipeg. The Avalanche ran over the Jets and Connor Hellebuck in particular, who after that series talked about not having any answers for why the series worked out the way it did. Sometimes the team just gets you. I have Colorado, which means the conference final is another matchup between the Colorado Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights. I think the Avalanche continue to ride the Landeskog magic, just an emotional high for them. I think the Avalanche take this and punch their ticket to the Stanley Cup final. In the East, how interesting. The first playoff series that the Matthews era Leafs ever played was in 2017 against the Washington Capitals. And here they are in a rematch this time. It's 8 years later in the Eastern Conference Final. The Leafs have finally overcome the hump. Why not keep it going? The Leafs go to the Stanley Cup Final. And with this Stanley Cup Final between the Colorado Avalanche and the Toronto Maple Leafs, I have the Colorado Avalanche. Oh, no. Ye of little faith. All the Leaf fans I hear screaming right now. Chestnut checkers. You think you're mad? No one is more mad at me than producer Drew. This guy, die-hard Colorado Avalanche fan, hates when I pick the Avalanche to win anything.
But Drew, who am I to deny the eventual 2025 Stanley Cup champions in the Colorado Avalanche? Surely no one, not even the Toronto Maple Leafs, could topple them.
And on the Spark app, I had to choose the amount of goals that will be scored in the series. I say 31. And I don't have good rationale for that. I just picked the number. So, what do you think of my bracket? Leave a comment in the comment box down below, or even better, go into the description and sign up for a bracket of your own. Spark, S-P-A-R-C. Can you do better than me? Can you do better than producer Drew? Can you do better than anyone? Let us know. But for now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends.
Go Avs, go. Am I right, Drew? Come on, buddy. Let's go.